And we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through many creative outlets and passionate people doing artistic things. Hi, I am the reason the boogeyman hides under the bed. He's hiding from me. Hi, I'm Trey, and I'm joined by my co-host Emily. Hi, Emily.
I am the boogeyman. I am. I have this kit. I sit under the bed with this box. So if you ever see a strange box under your bed that you didn't remember putting there, it's mine. It's got feathers and little pokey sticks and
glitter,
noisemakers, glitter, noisemakers. Yeah. If you find, I could go all kinds of directions with that. I'm not going to. Anyway. Thank you, Trey. It's me haunting you. What?
Okay. All right, now that I've recovered from that, loosely, I am really excited today, Emily, because we've got some incredibly artistic people. They are filmmakers, and they're incredibly wonderful people. We were talking right before the podcast got started, and I'm super excited to get into this. Will you please introduce our lovely guests today?
Yes, we have two people with us today. One of them is an accomplished photographer who has taught photography at the university level for many years. And she's also a filmmaker with an award-winning documentary. And she's here with Paul Summerlin, who is also a filmmaker with the same award-winning documentary. Paul Summerlin and Diana Michelle. Yay!
Yay! Welcome!
Thanks for having us, y'all.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. You know, I was doing some digging a little bit because I try to pull up something that's a little bit maybe not well known maybe about you, to try to I'm going to start it off by it with Griffin Ramsey. I was like, how was Alaska? Because she had just been to Alaska and maybe not everybody knew that. Mm-hmm. So this one, I feel a little underprepared, but have you been to any music festivals lately?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
I was at Reggae Rise Up last month or in March in
Okay.
Florida, and we go to a lot of little festivals, my partner and I. And so we have a little Spaceberry little one coming up, and then Reconnection, which is like yoga and music based. And so usually from like mid March till November, we go to a few festivals here and there, And so I'm traveling quite a bit this time of year. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. It sounds like music's kind of a common theme here with at least the three of you.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love music too. I think going to a music festival sounds like a lot of fun, but I haven't been in a really long time.
I haven't either. I used to play them, but
Yeah?
I haven't been as an audience member in many years. Because of course we hit several of those when I was on the road with Seal back in the day. There were a few festivals here and there that his gig would fit, and we did a few of them, like in Canada and Northeast America, for sure. Yeah.
So what do you play?
When I was with him, I played bass guitar and piano.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tool.
That was back in 2011, 2012, and 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, that period.
Very cool. That
About
sounds
10
like
or 12 years
fun.
ago. Yeah.
And of the instruments that you could play, I feel like the bass guitar is the coolest. So I do got to give you props for that.
Appreciate it. My younger brother is the real guitarist in the family. And when we started making music together as teenagers, both of us were sort of learning guitar. And it came apparent really quickly that he had better hands for that than I did anyway, and he was becoming more facile really quickly. And so I just picked up the bass, and that's just kind of how it happened. So by the time I was 15 and he was 13, he was on guitar. He was on the 6 and I was on the 4, and that was it. And it's been that way ever since.
So that's really awesome.
On the
What got
s-
you
I'm sorry.
on
For
the
those
six?
that don't know, the 6 and the 4 are a number of strings, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
6 string. I'm referring to the guitar and the 4 being the bass guitar. Sorry.
No, that was like the cool lingo to
I
say
guess that
it.
was an inside musical joke. I didn't mean to make.
No, I was like, he's on this. It's like someone says spinning on the ones and twos, and not everybody knows what that really means. So
Right.
we're good. We're good.
We're
I
breaking the
am
fourth
those
wall.
people.
I am too, actually. Someone school us on what ones and twos are. No one is. It's okay. We'll get it eventually. We'll figure it
I'm
out.
not going to school you
We can Google
because I don't
that.
trust
don't
my
know.
answer. I don't trust my answer.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm now here. It's spinning on the one.
Are you Googling it?
Yes, I am, very much so. The true meaning of the ones and twos. Da, 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 da.
So while you look that up,
Surely the chat's going to help us out with this one, right?
that's what I was thinking. How does nobody in the chat
Someone's
know
asking
it?
about Seal. Yes, the Seal, as in Kiss from a Rose. I toured with Seal. That's the Seal, the guy, the one who won 4 Grammys.
The
back in day.
seal.
Yeah,
The one
if
that
that's the
was-
Seal they're talking about, the tall, bald
Yeah.
man with the scars on his face,
Yes.
with the great sand and sandpaper voice. That's him.
He's
He was
pretty great.
He's an old friend of mine. Well, we're not close, but I worked for him
Sure.
for about 3 or 4 years. And my younger brother toured with him even longer than that.
Jasmine said, I think downbeats. That's ones and twos, downbeats.
Ones and threes would be the down. Well, the downbeats would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. The backbeat would be 2 and 4. The upbeat would be 1 and 3. That's one way of doing it, but it depends on what meter you're in, I guess, or how fast you're going.
Right. Yeah.
That's my quick answer.
Sandra said married to Heidi Klum. Yes. And I remember.
Divorced in 2012.
Wow.
Separated in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very sad period for them. They've got 4 kids, but it's all good now.
That's good.
I think I found the answer. Spinning on the ones and twos refers to the DJ or the DJs that are on turntables, because turntables are normally plugged into inputs 1 and 2 on a DJ mixer.
Oh.
Right on.
It's way more technical than I
Which is why
thought.
I wouldn't have known that.
Me neither. I've got a friend at work who's actually a DJ, and I feel like if I admitted that to them, they would be like, "How dare you not know this? Like, we've been friends for how long and you don't know this?" Kind of how
Right.
Emily was offended that I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings movies until like very recently. Like that level of just
There was
disdain.
another one recently too that you hadn't seen, and I was like, "Oh well, we don't have to get into it."
So what, I mean, what, Dinah, what got you into going to these different music festivals?
Honestly, I had gone to a few when I was younger, in my 20s and early 30s. But then when I met my partner, he was really into that. And um, we just started going on a regular basis. And that's really kind of what made me stay with him. Because honestly, one time we were somewhere and somebody was asking about our relationship and how we got together. And he said, "Well, I just showed her a lifestyle and I facilitated that lifestyle. And then it worked." I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I didn't even realize that until he was talking about that to somebody else. And so it's just amazing because we go to the ones that you like camp at for like 3 or 4 days. So
Yeah.
you don't have to go anywhere. You can just fully immerse yourself in the whole experience. And he's got dreadlocks, really long dreadlocks, and into the Rasta culture. So, and we're really into conscious music as well. So it's really inspiring to go to the type of music festivals that we go to, and you just leave there feeling really great. And so it's kind of addictive. And you start going to the same ones every year, and you see the same people every
Well,
year from
sure.
all over. And you have your festy family that you camp near and you look forward to seeing every year. So it's just became a lifestyle for us, and really enjoy doing it.
In a whole community. That's cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I want to know, like, because you got started in photography, and you've been doing photography for quite some time, and your photography has a feel to it that's a little bit. I think I read somewhere that you like the viewer to feel a little bit haunted. Can you tell
Right.
us a bit about your photography in that style?
Sure. It's not something that I actually do anymore, or it's been a few years actually since I've done that kind of work. Um, but it's mostly, as an artist, that's just how you deal with your crap. And that's just how I dealt with my crap for a long time. Would be going out there and just putting myself in danger. And, um, I did that for like 15 years. And it even drove me to go back to school and get my degree in fine art so I could learn more and how to do it better, because I was so into it. And so I'd say the past couple of years when I started working with Paul, my whole photography has changed completely into moving pictures. And so it's like abstract nature scenes, macro footage of like the surface of the water, for instance, doing video.
Okay.
And that's kind of like what I'm into now. Not that I would not ever do what I've used to do, because I still think I'm going to, and I fantasize about doing it constantly. Every time I drive by an abandoned house, I'm thinking about when I can be back there. Where would I park? Like, how would I creep through the woods and not be seen? Like, I go through that whole fantasy in my head because I feel like I'm going to go back and do that. And then I just don't. I never do anymore. Because I think really honestly what I'm doing now is way more positive, and more interesting too. And I'm kind of ready to move on and do something different.
Sure.
So I still display my work. I have like a solo show right now at the library through the gallery that represents me. I have some really big pieces up. But to me, that's more like a retrospective of my work.
Okay.
That's not anything that I'm doing currently, but I still show it through the gallery and people are interested in it. So I still show it, but it's not something that I'm actively doing anymore.
Sure. I get that. How is your vision for photography on an art level similar or different from filmmaking?
It's to me, I'm more into the experimental filmmaking. So that's to me, that's the ultimate art form. Because I can say so much more through moving pictures than a still picture. So honestly, the more artistic I can make the filmmaking, the more I can feel like I'm still being an artist about it. Even if we're just making documentary films.
Right.
But we just got done making some experimental short films, and that was, to me, the most satisfying as an artist.
So I just want everyone to know that the documentary you've made is called It's No Secret, and it's available on Vimeo. And you can go to vimeo.com/Paul Summerlin to see it. It's PaulSummerlin. And I did watch it. And I have to say, like, it is beautiful. You clearly have an eye for this. And it's something that, regardless of, how do I put this? It's beautiful. Like, as the nature scenes and the different, like the way the water reflects off rock and things like that. You were talking about the macro of the water. It's really cool. And I think you've definitely found something you're made to do, I think, because it is
I totally agree.
Quite a work.
Thank you.
And it's won awards now too. Okay. Tell us about that.
When we were about, I would say 2/3 away of gathering footage for the film, this would have been in 2021. Because we started hitting the red button about February of that year. So it was a whole 2 years ago and changed that we started on this thing. But about maybe by the late summer of that year, we were already planning some fundraising activities and events to happen during the fall as we were putting together the final edit and all that stuff and the screenings and everything. And we were kind of building up to that. And the initial goal was let's play the festival circuit. Let's do the old school thing, the art film old school thing, and see what happens, because there's a numbers game here that we want to try to play and it might be worth it. And so let's see what kind of money we can raise over the next few months, and then we'll take a dive with the circuit. And so we went through that whole process in the fall of 2021 as we were finishing up the edit, and then started displaying the stills that are related to the film and some of the back reels and the sizzle reels and all that in art shows and whatnot. We did several shows like that. It had started having screenings in late 2021 and early 2022. Had 2 or 3 of those, and then started cracking with the festival thing. So over the course of maybe 5 to 6 months of 2022, we were able to hit some bullseyes in the small festivals, mostly in Europe. We got very little attention in America, quite frankly.
Oh.
There were all the awards we won except for 3 were in on other soil, mostly Russia and Europe, actually, and UK. And there was one festival here in America, in the Green Bay area, that ended up giving us 3 annual awards: one for best documentary, one for most inspirational film, and one for best musical score. And that was the only American one that awarded us, and the rest were from perfect strangers. And I don't know, y'all may know about the festival circuit. It's a bit of a crazy game and a firewall. And it turns out that you enter these things, and you might make some hits and garner up some laurels and whatnot, but you never really know exactly how many people are actually seeing your movie.
Oh.
And you don't always necessarily get that information either. So it's kind of a hit or miss game. It's grown into something, to be fair, that it really wasn't several years ago, and COVID had a great deal to do with that. And in other words, when the old school film festival, the crowds gathering in the streets and waiting in line to get a seat and hanging out at the lounges and before and after, and all the photo ops here and there, the red carpets, those things still do exist. But even those over the past few years have becoming more of a hybrid, sort of infrastructure of themselves. And during COVID, all of them did. And some of them went completely hybrid, which is to say they became online festivals, which is to say they didn't necessarily have an audience at all. They might have just had a committee or a manager or literally one person watching your film, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
we learn, it's just something you learn along the way. But we were able to be fair. We were able to throw about $1,000 at it, which is, nothing compared to some film budgets can. That's just for festivals alone.
Okay.
And considering that that was our budget for festivals, and we were able to, pick up 17 small awards, we felt pretty good about that. And it was like I said, a big learning experience. And it's interesting because we joke now on the local level. It's strange because we get this feeling like having all these awards makes people in the local scene it makes them think like we've already succeeded, the film is already made. Yeah. And actually, I actually meant to chime in a minute ago because you mentioned the Vimeo link, and the Vimeo link for the movie itself, the documentary, has been removed over the last 2 weeks because we just signed a distribution contract.
Congratulations!
So
that's exciting.
We're in the middle of that, and so that had to come down. In other words, our personal means of drawing income, whether it's $3 or $4, off of sharing the movie, that got taken down because now the contract is signed, and now that this other entity is in charge of that sort of exploitation, if you will. I don't know all the legal jargon myself, but that's been done, and we're in the process of putting together that final delivery, they call it. Any filmmakers out there will know what we're talking about if we've done this, and it is a grueling process, believe me. And there'll be fans of your show that will know what we're saying, and we are right in the middle of that right now. And this is our first feature film for either one of us, and so we're learning some stuff along the way. In other words, when you deliver a movie ready for full worldwide distribution, in other words, the potentiality of going on those different platforms and networks and whatnot doesn't mean it's going to be on it. It's just the potentiality of it. You have to deliver the goods up front. It gives you every potentiality of doing that, which means a lot of different things. You're not just handing over one file. You're handing over a whole big packet of files that are categorized different ways and all have metadata and transcripts and markings. And it's a pretty crazy. And it's funny because one of the people in the company that we're going to be working with, who's helping us sort of through all these steps, she kind of jokes about it. She says, a lot of this stuff's not even really necessary. I think they just do it to make all the filmmakers jump through hoops. because it is just this long. It's like reading a bill from Congress that they don't read the whole thing before. It's just one of those, right? I know we're not talking politics, but it's like a good analogy.
I can provide some insight on this, actually. I was on the advisory board for, I don't know if I should give it away. I was on the advisory board for a film community that had a film festival that was kind of large. And so I signed up to be one of the people that helped judge the short films and other documentary things that came in to be, because we had to go through and figure out which ones would show, which ones, because you can't no one has the amount of time that it takes to sit and watch all of them. And so we had a committee of people that would do that. And so I'd sign up for it. And it is, you have, I don't know, we have like a month or more, maybe it was 6 weeks, to sit and watch as many as you can, as much as you can, as fast as you can. You can only watch them so fast. But so when you're going through them and judging them, I mean, it's human beings, so that's tricky. You could be in a bad mood one day, and that's just, you picked the wrong movie. Because that happens on Netflix. You're in a bad mood that day, and I start a movie, and I go, this is next. And it could have been a great film, and I'm just not in the mood. So I try to keep myself in check when I go to watch. I pick a movie or a short film that's, going to suit my mood that day, so that I'm not doing someone a disservice. But yeah, there is an actual committee of people that do that. And then we put in our vote, which is actually, I believe that's anonymous because nobody wants to know who's, and there's some level of anonymity too, because you don't want it's kind of blind. Like you don't, if I know who the filmmaker always is, or I think they give us the name of who submitted it or something. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, there's some anonymity with it so that you're not showing favoritism if it's somebody you know.
And the crazy thing is, and I've heard straight from filmmakers and festival people themselves, because guess what? Most of them are both. Because they're filmmakers who create these festivals, because it's just the same big network of people.
And you
So
could tell by who's in it, maybe who
people, filmmaker artists who have been involved as filmmakers and as festival makers. That I've heard them come straight out and say it. They're like, in certain festivals, they literally don't watch more than the first 5 minutes. And if it checks off certain boxes, then it gets past the next person. If it doesn't tick off certain boxes, it's just thrown out.
I could see that being. Oh, I'm sorry, Trey. Go for it.
No, that's fine.
I'm not saying it happens all the time, but anyway, go ahead, Trey.
I could see it being true. I didn't do that way. I felt that was wrong, but I could see people just going, yeah, next. Go ahead, Trey. I'm sorry.
Right.
For me, I kind of see that from like a playwright standpoint, because there are so many people who will go through hundreds and hundreds of different scripts and before they kind of decide on a show, or producers who will read potential the next Broadway hit. And I have legitimately talked to a couple that are like, yeah, if I'm not hooked by the first couple of pages, move on to the next thing. And the meat and the potatoes of it, like the thing that people keep coming back for, could be stuck halfway in the middle. And if it doesn't catch their attention immediately, no one will ever get to see it until someone takes the opportunity to watch it.
Right.
Or to read all the way through it. Yeah.
And we're dealing with time, and sometimes time means money to people, and there's all kind of reasons. There's an industry going on. I had a distributor person tell me once to my face that and certain people's opinions in certain lines of the industry, just if they look at it and they see it's a documentary, those don't make money. And that same person will turn around and sign a film based on its title, not knowing anything about the film, just by the title. Like the title said something like Danger in the Desert, or something like it was obvious, some kind of genre film, and we'll buy that one. Well, we didn't pitch that one to you. That's okay. I like the title. We'll buy it.
So tell our audience what distribution means for you. Like what does that do?
Well,
for people who don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't mean what it might mean for a songwriter or a band, because I've done that too. I've been in that realm of things as well since I was in my 20s. But with film, it is a little different. The industry is so huge, but the basic understanding of it for me and for us is this. This is a group of people that are already in the club, if you will, the industry. They have the connections with it, because the entities morphed and changed over time within the industry. Between the years of only having movie theaters and then only having VHS tapes and theaters, and then from there on to the online, everything in between. The industry has maintained its network dendrites, if you will, its tentacles. And so the people who are able to hand your movie over to a potential buyer, a potential streamer platform, they take the reins over. They don't necessarily promote your movie, but they plug it in and then chase down the money that's trickling down the stream, the resource stream, which is a very complicated process, which I don't understand, but the distributor people do, is my understanding.
Yeah, that's why they're distributors, right?
And we sat on our offer for a while, for several months.
Okay.
We wanted to. It was daunting at first and overwhelming, and understand it. We searched for a live person for a long time to help us sift through it, and that was tricky. We were able to get it done, but as it turns out, with any contract, we're talking about a language that normal people like you and me don't really speak. I mean, you guys may be attorneys, I don't know, but it's not English. It looks like English, but it's not. And so,
Right.
and we are as artists can be when it comes to that kind of stuff. We're the first people that are afraid of getting screwed over. But
Of course.
so you have to have people look it over and check the fine print. And as it turns out, most of these contracts, if the people you're dealing with are honest, they're legit, because all the snags have been carved out over the years, and they still look pretty crazy, and you can still amend them and change them, and they're pretty complicated. But basically what they do is they shop your film to the companies that can show it to the world, or to whatever their audiences are. And if your film matches their set of genres for their company, then they take it on, and then they sign a certain number of years, and then it goes from there.
Cool.
And the contract that we would have with the distributor is for also a certain number of years, and then to be renewable.
Okay.
In other words, it's not like a manager. It's not like a promoter. It's not like a marketer. That's not what they are. And they're not a film studio either.
Right.
Now, that particular distributor that we are working with is also a manager and an owner for a production company. And this is typical. People who are in film often wear multiple hats. But his production company is a separate thing from a distribution company. He did not produce our film. We produced our film, but he is helping distribute it.
It's just getting it out there, right?
Yeah. Anyway, back to y'all.
Oh, that's fine.
I hope that helped.
Absolutely did. And
Yeah.
I think it gives our audience kind of a nice insight. We don't often get to see some of the worlds, or our audience may not always get to see some of the backstage secrets that are out there. So I think it's really helpful for them to understand that, and it's helpful for even me to understand that. So the next time that I get invited to go to the Tribeca Film Festival, throwing that out there to the universe, hoping that I do,
Right.
I will have a better appreciation for all the hard work that goes into it. Now, from my perspective, thinking about all the different films that I've put out there, and I want to ask you both for your input on this question. We recently had a guest on our podcast, Tom Paradise, who said, and I want to make sure I get this quote correct, that art should provoke. So my question to you, with the art that you're creating, how do you like your art to provoke?
You want to start and I'll finish?
I'll start.
Go ahead. Please.
For me, it's more about the visual part, because I'm the photographer, the videographer, if you will. And so I'm just trying to make art with the film camera. And when it comes to Paul, it's completely different. Like, he comes into that scene that I set up or whatever, especially when it comes with our experimental films, because that to me is the most freedom I have to be an artist. But I think it's completely different for me and Paul, because we have completely different roles in this. And that really, when it comes to him being a part of the film, he is stepping into the artwork, if you will. And then his part is completely different. So I'll let him explain that.
Yeah, I suppose if I had to set up the lofty goal, the high bar for us to reach, we want the art of Seven Diamond Mudra, which is the name of our partnership, our company, our whatever.
Okay.
The things that we do, which involves more than film, and involves body work and healing and yoga and all kinds of other things. But the artistic goal of Seven Diamond Mudra, of this It's No Secret project and subsequent projects, is to provoke healing and illumination and spiritual growth, primarily, and wisdom. We want to provoke those things, and we want to provoke I describe it. I've often described it to Diana this way, and we may have talked about this in some of the interviews we filmed, or the podcast or whatever. But it's this idea that the artist in the postmodern world is seen as and expected to be almost this crazy person, this neurotic that spins these glorious works of art out of their neurosis every day, and they remain this crazy person, if you will. And we have perfect examples of this, since the 1960s of all our celebrities of all different types. And our contention is in Seven Down, and you can imagine based on the subject of our movie why this is my stance, because this is a project that fell in both of our laps that has changed our lives. And it's more than just a project. It's become something far bigger than, for us anyway, than just a movie.
For sure.
It has literally changed who we are. And the process of going through it, and what we are still going through because of it, is this song. It is like we've been picked up by this boat or this car or this plane or this magic carpet, and we're on it, and it's this bumpy, crazy. And so naturally for us, the goal to provoke is to somehow share that with our audience, with the world, with others, so that they might carve that into their own lives, to say, hey, we don't have to stay in an erotic place to be a good artist. We can come out of that and make great art that actually transcends our demons and transcends our egoic weaknesses and transcends our mental illnesses and mental disorders, which of course is a big subject of our documentary. So if we're trying to be provocative in any way, that's where it starts for us. And of course, to riff off of what Diana said a minute ago, there's various ways that we do that. And in the way that she tends to take pictures, and then, to be fair, in the way I like to write music much of the time, there's gonna be dark undertones and dark overtones to that. This is not a fully lighthearted subject. It's heavy. And our goal of creating art and being expressive and expressing ourselves is to come out of the heaviness, ultimately.
And I think that's a really great way to put it, in that there's the stereotype of the tormented artist who's creating this incredible work of art.
Yes.
And I think that it's like a piece of negative feedback. You could have received 1,000 glowing reviews of something, and it's that one little negative piece of feedback that discolors everything in your brain about this particular subject. And I think that's kind of the same when it comes to art. There are so many glorious moments of beautiful pieces of art, but the thing that sticks in our mind are those moments of when people are at their biggest form of neuroses, or however you would like to describe that particular negative moment. And I don't think that's often the case. So I like that you called that out. And I think that's important to remember, that we all have great days, we all have bad days, and that both can provide equally beautiful, beautiful pieces of creativity.
Somebody just wrote in the chat, life is made of light and dark. I love that. We just had a weekend of events in Springdale, Arkansas. We were workshopping our new short films, and one of them is an interactive live film that includes dance, and we just began workshopping this incredible piece that hopefully will have some shelf life for us, as well as his short films. But another thing that we workshopped over the weekend was a lecture meditation that I put together that involves some of this nature footage and some background sort of chalkboard type classroom stuff, and intermingled in this long meditation lecture that I put together. And it was about the subject of light. And someone in the chat just mentioned this light and dark being, well, and if we look quickly at the word light, and its Egyptian root is the word Ra, as in Amen Ra. And of course, the word Ra is in the word dark backwards. The word for light, the original Egyptian word for light, is in the word dark reversed, which I find interesting. We don't have time to go far into that. But I was clued into what someone said over there, because we just literally did a lecture on this subject of light and dark, and what the light is, and its foundations in creation, and its foundations in divinity, and all these sorts of things. And we use in the lecture, which we're going to be turning into a film version of, podcast film type version of it. Involves these macro super close up footage shots of nature doing all these crazy things with light
Cool.
and shadow. So it's it's right on the money. This person who's talking to the chat is right on the money.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, Jasmine said. Oh, I'm sorry, Trey.
No, go for it.
Were you gonna read that?
Nope.
Jasmine said in the chat, "Oh wow, I can't speak English. Reminds me of yin and yang. This sounds fascinating." I'm sorry, Jasmine.
In the 3D world, I'll just since they're getting into, I'll just give them a little bit more of my take. In the we come into physical being in a human body. We are infinite souls, if you will, having a temporary experience in the earth life as a human creature. And in that existence, we are experiencing everything in a three-dimensional way, up, down, left, right, all of that, front, back, and with a sense of linear time, a temporal. Light in its divine essence is beyond that. And so in our temporality, the only way we can experience light is to have dark as its opposite. So in other words, you don't know the light without the dark being there. But it's also, conversely, once you shine the light on a dark corner, you're going to have to see what's in the dark corner.
Like the boogeyman under the bed. Oh, I'm sorry, Trey.
No, get out of my head.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that's really one of the difficult things for artists in particular is to confront that. So I think having the conversations can be difficult, but how you go about that, I think, is up to the person. As long as you're having those conversations with yourself and doing so in a safe environment with people that you trust. And that is as I think politically correct as I can say that statement. And now with that kind of in mind, what was the question I was going to have? There we go. Sorry.
That's okay.
That is my own neuroses working. Because I'm thinking through, I feel like half the time I feel like Doctor Strange inside of my own head.
That's because you are Doctor Strange.
Stop it.
I was going to say, this might spark it. You never know. I would say that everything that Diane and I do artistically together is an outgrowth of us helping each other with our spiritual growth and with our stuff and with our neurosis and with our addictive personality issues and all the stuff that we all deal with in the modern world. That's where it starts, in our friendship and our sort of brother-sister relationship, helping each other through the stress, and then we make art together. But it's like the whole thing is founded in the friendship. We're trying to make each other better people and trying to lift each other up. And that's why the film became such an obsession for us, and why seeking out certain particular types of images in nature we were drawn to, because it was like bringing us into this place of healing. And we're like, oh my God, we got to follow this. This is working. And the whole time we were going, this is so hard. This is so difficult. It's so painful because I keep letting go of all this stuff that I don't need to be carrying around anymore in my life and in my mind and in my past. And it's hard to let go. And it's like the whole process, we've been feeling that happening. It's just been incredible.
That's one thing I wanted to ask Diana before you guys came on. I thought of the question that was, when you're filming, I don't know if you have these moments, so I kind of want to hear if you do and what that's like for you. You have, Trey and I have done photo shoots together before too, and not so much filmmaking, but photo shoots. And when there's that moment when like the sun hits the right angle, or the trees are doing the right thing, or whatever, and everybody knows in that moment on set that this is the coolest, this is the magical moment, and it's so cool to just be there, let alone capture it. Did you have moments like that too? Do you have moments that go, yes, this is why I do what I do?
Every time now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because with my older work, my black and white stuff, I hardly showed any of that work. maybe just a couple of photos a year, because it's very particular um, about that work, because it really had to speak to me for anybody to see it at all. So those 15 years of taking those kinds of pictures, a very small portfolio, if you think about it. Maybe 100 photos total over 15 years.
Okay.
So that's, for me, that's makes me feel so different, because nowadays every time we go somewhere, or if I just go by myself and go to the creek with my camera, and I'll just get lost out there for hours and do it, and I'll come back and I have stuff every time that I'm proud of. So that's a huge difference for me, and it's way more satisfying than doing what I used to do and working so hard for it, and then feeling like I risked my life all day and didn't get anything,
Right.
and then I would be mad and upset, and then go out again, and then maybe I would get something, and then I'd be okay for a little while. And that's the little game I played.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's just happening all the time. And so it's way more satisfying.
And she has a huge cheerleader, because I'm like going, oh my God, this is stunning.
Right. That helps too.
That's awesome.
You mentioned what something about your question. I'm probably paraphrasing, but like you get in the zone. So by getting in the zone, you just know something is you just know it. I'll give you an example. This was 2 years ago. We were out at one of our favorite spots. It's a really difficult spot to get to, but we went there twice and got some incredible pictures, which ended up in our feature. But there was a particular moment we were filming what I call ricochet spray paint, which the sun comes off the water and goes up on the rocks and just all the crazy patterns, which we love to shoot because it's really meditative and amazing and trippy, if that's the right word. But anyway, we were in one of these spots that was just spectacular, and I was sort of getting in the shot. She was going to put me in the shot or whatever, but meantime she was honing in on this insane, just glorious light reflecting up on the bluff that was just like 20 feet wide and just making all these, you could just get lost in it. And I was piddling around. I looked over after a few minutes, she was setting stuff, and I looked over at her, and it looked like she had seen a ghost. Like she was half asleep, and she was halfway leaned over, like something had stunned her and she was about to pass out. And I was like, oh God, we're out in the middle of nowhere. It's July and she's overheating or something bad. Something bad's going on.
Yeah.
And we were about to, as far as I knew, we were about to hit roll them, whatever. And I looked over and she just looked gone. And I was like, oh no, we got to get some water or something. And I said, Dinah, are you okay? And I had to say it like at least twice, Dinah. And she goes, come over here and look at this. She was just
I
gone.
love that. I can totally relate to that.
I went over there, and at the time it was just the old Canon, so it was just a little. And I was like, oh my God, roll tape, let's go. She goes, I'm already rolling.
That's awesome.
She was just completely flabbergasted by this little 2-inch thing she was looking at, because she just knew it was the perfect photo. And it's a particular image that we've used over and over again in some of our stuff.
That's how it should be.
You nailed that one. You nailed that question. I've seen it.
For anybody, for everybody listening, on your Vimeo, the top banner is that. What did you call it again? Where the light
ricochet spray paint.
Ricochet spray paint is on the top of your Vimeo.
My long name for it is God's ricochet spray paint, but you can leave if you don't want to leave that out. It's because it's not a reflection. It's a ricochet, because the reflection is just when it's right on the water or right on the leaf, but when it goes on the water directly and then the water ricochets to the rock, that's when you get the insane looking stuff that you see in a lot of those clips that are on the Vimeo page.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
There's a particular, I believe it's public. If it's not, I'll kick myself, but I think we have a video up there called Entering the Stream, which shows some really cool collection of those real close-up reflection type ricochet stuff on the Vimeo page.
Right.
And the trailer, the one of the long trailer for the film is on there too. For the documentary.
Sorry. I think that sense of wonder, I have only ever seen that happen of the photo shoots that I've assisted Emily with, I've seen that happen 3 times.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Um,
3 times. I don't even
3
know
times.
about this.
Um, Emily, I will share them with you at a later time.
Okay.
But we've talked about the one, like the infamous one,
That's what
uh,
I was thinking. There would be one, right?
multiple times. Um, but it's that ultimately what I'm trying to say is you know it when you see it because there's electricity in the air, and you just kind of go, oh, yes. So it is beautiful. And when you see that happen, for those that are listening on our podcast, when you see that happen, when you see the gleam in their eye, that electricity spark in the air, just go, yes. And give them the space to do it. It is a work of art in and of itself.
You know, I talked about all through our weekend of workshopping. We had some small audiences and some really nice discussion and Q&A after our things. And one of the subjects that came up more than once, really, is this. And I tend to describe it as the dangers of film and filmmaking, because if we were to look back at the Buddha's teaching, particularly, it's described in some of the deep writings and discourses that the eyeballs, particularly as the senses go, all the different senses of the human body, the eyeballs particularly are the most tricky. We can be the most tricked by our eyes. I could finger snap next to your ear and put you on a blindfold and put you in a cave, and you can still hear it if your hearing works properly, but I can fool your eyeballs because people do it all the time with sleight of hand. And we know that TV does it all the time. We know that Hollywood does it all the time. And so if you add another iris to that, which is the camera lens, you're going one step out. And so if you're trying to trick somebody, oh, you could do it, because it's another iris on top, out extended from the iris that we already have, which is turning everything backwards in the back of your mind anyway to make it proper, because what we're looking at is not really what we're seeing. We got to flip it. And so you take a lens. And by the way, the word camera is made of that raw word again, that Egyptian word, because it's light appears, because a kam is a cameo. You came, you appeared. The sun comes out, it appears. You came over, you had an appearance. So kamera means light appears. You put the lens on the light appears into the camera, and you make a photograph, a painting of light. And so with the wrong intention, this is my contention, that the wrong intention, when you point a camera at something, is a very dangerous thing. But if you have the right intention, it can lead to the greatest and deepest wonder and beauty and truth. And so it's just like, I guess you could say that about anything, about food or love or sex or spiritual, if used improperly, it could be for good or ill, right?
Light or dark.
There you go. And we don't know one without the other. In the physical, we don't. In the spiritual, we know that it is all light, but in the physical, we have this duality, don't we?
Very true. And like you said, you must have both. So from that sense of wonder, from that sense of creativity, and watching the two of you create such a beautiful film, what I do want to ask is, what are some things that really inspire you?
Obviously, nature.
Yeah, I was about
Yes.
to say
Number one.
nature. And I don't even take nature photographs now. I've never been a nature photographer. There's a lot of people that are doing a really great job at that. And my job always felt was to make something that's not beautiful, beautiful. And that's what I always did with the abandoned house stuff, was to find something really ugly and turn it into something beautiful. And so for me, that's why it's so much easier now, because it's so easy to see the beauty in nature. So
Nature has replaced, I would say for both of us, nature has replaced many things that used to do that for us. And now it's nature all the way. It is the greatest medicine in life, getting back in. And we go deep, as you can imagine by looking at some of those images if you saw any of it. Some of that stuff's really deep. And we got to go way out to get it in some cases.
I bet.
Sometimes it's pretty dangerous.
Yes.
So is when you're out there filming, or at least for your It's No Secret documentary, was there a part when it was difficult or you had a challenge that you felt with filmmaking that you felt actually made you better or actually improved the art of the film somehow?
I feel like
If that makes
almost
sense.
every time we go, we have a challenge. Some are bigger than others. So, you're out in nature deep and we get injured or lost. And both of those things have happened.
Really? You got lost?
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
Sure. I mean, I've been lost in the woods too. I'm not judging.
It's not fun.
No. And I've been hurt several times.
Yeah.
What?
Had a couple dangerous spills, falls,
Sure.
trying to, and you're not even, we're not necessarily even trying to be unsafe. We've done a couple things that I wouldn't necessarily do again to go get a shot somewhere.
Sure.
She would do them again, but I won't necessarily do it again.
Well,
Yeah,
she
but
was used to risking her life, so this is far safer.
Right.
Yeah. She's ready to go, and to be fair, she dragged me into. I'm trying to go back to more specifically to your question, and I guess the best way to give an example is that first place that we went together way out when we had gear with us, and that was kind of the, not only for me the first day, and this would have been 2 years ago almost to the week, no, a little longer than that, but anyway, the first day when I finally said to myself, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit to this, I'm going to actually be that crazy, I'm going to make this movie, and it's going to change things for me no matter what, and I have to be willing to pull the trigger and not go back. But that place, to which we have been to many, many, many times over since, and it makes up a great deal of what we film, although we've been all over the state now. That particular place, which is between here and Eureka Springs,
Okay.
just to tell you, is always gonna be this mesmerizingly sacred place to us, and it turns out that actual place, when you do some research on it, it really was a sacred healing ground to the tribes that used to live here back in the day. And there are articles about this place. It's called Hollow, and there's these old incredible coves filled with bluffs and all kinds of other magic up on these coves through the tails of Beaver Lake. And back in the day, the tribes used to. It was sort of known as a neutral ground, literally, and the different neighboring tribes could come to the springs there, the waterfall springs, which we've been to several times ourselves, and they could come there for healing, and they would be undisturbed by the neighboring tribes, and anyone and everyone could come in, and it was a peace zone back in the day. This is real, and this is the place that we go more than any other, and we literally go out there and we take our shoes off and we get in that water and we do the thing. And we've been filming in this place ever since, and it is having the same effect on us, no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. And people go there all the time, but people around that area that know about it, it's a popular spot to visit. It just takes a little doing to get there, because you got to get in a paddle boat and you got to go through the mud.
Oh.
It takes a little doing. You have to be able-bodied to get
Right.
out there. But I don't know if that's an example, kind of what your question was leading at, but it changed. It changed everything for me, because I was like, oh, I've been here, I've seen this. This matches everything. This is going to underscore our film. This is perfect, and it just set the tone for the whole thing. For us.
That's an awesome payoff for your efforts. Yeah.
It was like, the whole thing's been life changing, and I think if things go the way we hope, it'll change some more in the next few years, if we can get some traction, because we feel like our story could really do some good if we get enough people paying attention to it.
And it sounds like you will. And from your perspective, having done some lectures and having been involved in the process from the beginning for yourselves, looking back from when you first started to where you are now, what advice would you have for those that are trying to get started in filmmaking or into photography?
Ooh.
Both categories are completely oversaturated right now. So I really don't have good advice for people. I hate to say that, other than do it.
I do.
It's a labor of love. You know, do it because you love it.
I do.
And okay, good. 'Cause I don't. It's just.
I'm the yoga teacher, so I should be the one giving it. But I mean, I should be the one forced to anyway. So anybody who's starting out wants to do it, that take care of your own body first. Take care of yourself. Treat yourself better. Get rid of the unnecessary toxins and poisons in your life. Get rid of the unnecessary distractions in your life, so you can put all of that energy, no matter how hard it is, into that work that you really need to be doing, and not the things that are distracting you in your life, but put every ounce of it. And there'll be days that it hurts and you want to understand why you're doing what you're doing necessarily, but try it for 90 days. Try giving up 5 of the things that you have every day that you know that you really don't need, and put all of that energy and all that money or whatever way you want to do it. Make up your own plan, but do it and say, I'm compelled to do something now. I'm going to give something else up that I know is bad for me, so I can do what I really want to do and what I really need to do and what Spirit is calling me to do. That's my
love
advice.
that. I love that. That is
Good.
solid.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because we ask many of our guests the same question in different ways, and everybody has their own take, but almost everyone says it kind of the same thing differently, but no one said it like you just did. And I love how you put that. But definitely do it. I mean, that's the key to getting started, right? Is you have to start somewhere. So yeah, I love that. That was beautiful.
But you have to be okay with that. It might be just a labor of love.
Yeah.
And that may be all you ever get out of it. And so you have to be okay with that.
And God knows that's happened to both of us over and over and over and over again. Every artist.
Your beautiful experiences that you have had out there in the woods and with the water and in nature and just with each other and the community and things like that, you have gotten so much. I've heard you this whole hour talk about how much you've gotten out of that alone, whether you ever make it a documentary out of it or not, whether you got a distributor or not. You clearly did this because it was important to you and you got something out of it. And I think that alone is a good enough reason to do what you're doing.
Thank you. Yes.
Well said. Yeah, for sure.
Like, you can do art for you.
You do it for yourself.
Because it heals you, because it makes you happy, because it's beautiful to you.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be monetized or distributed. Although I'm thrilled that you guys achieved that. That's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
We're hopeful.
What's that? I'm sorry?
We're hopeful.
Yeah. Well, and I can't wait to see where this goes for you and what other awards you might win. And this is very cool. And you're obviously very talented. And so what's next for you? Do you have other projects on the burner? Or?
The upcoming, I mentioned that we're going to be up to our ears in getting the delivery of the documentary ready over the next month or so. And then our next sort of mode of effort right in front of us is going to be building up a Patreon page so we can have it ready to go by the time there's any kind of fan base starts to trickle in. Building up the extra work. We're already to the point now where we've got almost several hours of what we're calling meditative footage. We're taking hours of music that's been archived and nature footage has been archived, and we're developing a series of meditative videos. That's one of the things that's going to be a foundational point of the Patreon page. So that's one of the next goals. And then, of course, whatever happens with the the promotion and the next steps with the promotion and marketing of the film worldwide,
Okay.
if it comes to that. Yeah. And maybe some more screenings and live shows, but not as a high priority, because those things take a lot out of you, man.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Very cool.
That is awesome. To make sure that our audience is able to connect with you in a couple different places, may I ask where is going to be the best place that they can connect with both of you?
Yeah, I mean, I have an artist page on Facebook and a personal page, so you can look up first and last name for me on that. Diana has a personal one. The Vimeo page to view the stuff, and then her photography website, which you guys have. That's a good place to start. There is an It's No Secret. There is a YouTube page as well, and and the title of it is It's No Secret, a documentary film. And there are some things on there too. There's some screening Q&As and some trailers, and we'll be adding any related content to that YouTube page as well. There's some things on there now.
That's perfect.
Awesome.
Well, everyone stay tuned for the announcement whenever this film goes worldwide. Whenever both of these lovely artistic individuals everyone stay tuned for the announcement, and we can't book them for our podcast again because they've gotten that huge. Please go follow them. Please go enjoy their incredible film wherever it will be playing. Keep up to date with them because we know we will. But as we close out tonight's podcast, I do want to thank both of you for being on. And I would like to ask, not to put you on too much on the spot, do you have a favorite quote?
Not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot.
I'll quote myself from the film.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We are living in a movie.
We'll leave it at that.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
That. That's pretty cool. Well, sincerely, Paul, Diana, thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
Thank you all.
As we close out this episode here, we want to make sure that we dedicate this episode, along with probably every other episode, always in memory to Joe Capone, our moderator, fellow comedian, curmudgeon, critic, encourager, and great friend. You can find us pretty much wherever you tune into podcasts. For updates, announcements, and more, please follow us on social media under Modern Romantic and help us reach our subscriber goals. Thank you, everybody, and have a luminous day.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you,
Namaste.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.